has its ups and downs. Turn your pretty face to an ugly frown. Seems that when I fix one thing,
Hello, welcome to The Awakening. I'm your host, Angela Brown. Today's topic are women in election of 2009. I have two gorgeous guests here today. I have Geraldine Valentino-Smith is running, and also Diane Polangin. And we didn't expect to see what we dragged in with Diane Polangin, but we have her as our third guest, and I'm glad everybody's here. Welcome, Geraldine.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And welcome, Diane.
Well, I see, you just never know who's walking the halls of City Hall
to
been
some
and looking smashing
and looking smashing.
Well, everybody here looks sexy, including myself. Geraldine, let's get started. I've never spoken with you before. My first question is, with all the things and all the boards that you're on, how in the hell do you do all of it?
Well, you know, it's definitely a balance.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of us mothers out here. Diane knows too. You try and balance the laundry, the dinner, the homework, and the city meetings, but it's important. You know, my husband is a great support. I don't think any of us can do what we do without the support of a family or husband. So I'm fortunate. He grew up here in Bowie, went to high school here. He loves the city. He's very supportive in what I do because we do what we do for the city.
Yeah. Well, I know Diane's husband's always following her everywhere. He says when she walks the streets, he's got to follow her because he's afraid for her. Diane, why are you doing this to yourself again?
Because I need my head examined.
Lay down on the floor. I've been to school. Lay down on the floor and I'll do it. But seriously, this is a lot of work for you.
Well, it's a lot of work, but it's, you know, this is my city. I love it. I've been
rewarding.
here since I was 14 years old, and you know, since 1962. Oops, that makes me not.
No. You're only 29.
And I just want the opportunity to give back to my city and give people the same opportunities I had growing up in the city. One of the things that's interesting, Geraldine, that you neglected to say was also the sports that you have to take the kids to, all the various games.
Really?
Having been the past national president of Business and Professional Women, one of the things I would like you to do is come out and talk to some groups about balancing work and family, because that's the thing we've worked on for years, is balancing, and people, they don't know how to do it. And they don't do it where you're doing it. You may say, geez, I don't know how I'm getting it done, but I'm getting it done. And there are many people who don't do it.
And you do. I mean, you always question yourself. You know, is there a better way? Am I doing it right? I had to chuckle. One of the questions one of the newspapers asked us was, in the last 10 years, what's one of your top 3 accomplishments?
Surviving.
Well, I had to sit there and I said, well, do you answer the question to say just exactly that? I can do laundry, a conference call, make dinner, schedule sports teams, and check homework all at the same time.
I don't know how you
but
do
I
that.
think that I'm not unique. I mean, that's what mothers do. I'm sure that's what you did. And we balance, we juggle, and we prioritize. I'd be glad to come out and talk to them.
Mothers do that, but mothers also forget to schedule me time.
That's true.
And so how much me time have you given yourself lately?
Well, Diane, you and I both know we're in election. Absolutely not.
Okay. But you know, you need to schedule that me time when it's over.
Yeah.
Because that's very important. And most mothers, they do know, they do it. Some of them do it very begrudgingly because they think they have to do it, but you don't do it begrudgingly. You do it very, very willingly and very happily. And I can see that with you and your kids.
Yeah, and like I said, you can't do this without your family.
No, you have to have the support.
Diane and I, there's no question in what we do for the city. We are out a lot in the evenings. You know, to be at homeowners association meetings, to be at city committee meetings, to be where we need to be is in the evening. And you know, luckily,
Do you work during the day too?
just with my mommy duties.
Oh, so you don't have a full-time, I thought you had a 40-hour job a week.
No, I used to practice law, and when I took on the position as a councilwoman and started to run, I decided, and I also have...
That was 2 years ago, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a soon-to-be 14-year-old, soon-to-be 13-year-old, and I have my little man. He's 4. And when he...
Well, you were busy doing something. You were busy doing something else as well. Okay.
When he came along, I decided to stop practicing law. I used to practice health law, health policy, and health regulation in Annapolis for 20 more years. I decided to take a break and be able to dedicate myself to the council work and to the family.
I have a good question for you. What characteristics do you think you have that qualifies you to be reelected?
I think right now what I have done or focused on in the last 2 years is to be a voice and a watchdog for the people at City Hall. I've tried to go out.
What do you mean a watchdog?
to ask the difficult questions.
Such
We are very blessed here in the city. We have a staff that's incredible, but at the same time, we each have different roles. And as a council person, on behalf of the citizens, I try to challenge staff reports and staff recommendations to make sure that the observations of the citizens and the questions of the citizens are there. I think the staff does that too, but they always can come from it at a different perspective. So I was one of the only council members to vote against the joint City Hall Police Department. After great thought and investigation, I saw that we would still have to run City Hall as a municipal building, and I thought that it would save money. And I thought on referendum, I challenged us going to the bond market without voter referendum. But I respect the council. The majority of the council did not feel that way, and they're moving ahead, and they got a good rate in the bond market. But I did challenge that based on what I was hearing the citizens say. We each do that.
So this is where we agree to disagree, and
You
we
would
can still
disagree,
get
didn't you?
along.
And she
Because see, I consider the City Hall the gift that keeps on giving.
Oh,
because
I see.
of all the money we saved with the contracts coming in at $7 million less, and the interest coming in to save us about $4 million. So to me, it's the gift that keeps on giving. But the fact remains that we can agree to disagree and still work together.
And still work together, not be bitter against one another.
Exactly.
Well, I think that that's what you see in municipal government. I mean, each of us that sit in that black swivel chair on a Monday night love the city, and each of us is dedicated to public service. We approach things in a different manner.
Every one of us.
But at the end of the night, we're all striving to do what we think is best for the citizens.
And the thing, if you watch the city council meetings, and if you've watched them over the years, this council gets along better than any council has gotten along in years. And I don't know, how many you've watched, but you can see that.
How would you describe your leadership skills? You're talking right now about some of them. How would you describe them? You're gung-ho, you go out there voiceful?
Yeah, I mean, I think I try to keep 3 goals in mind.
Such as?
Always to be, again, a voice for the citizens. It's very hard. I mean, I think Diane will probably agree with me. The hardest job that we have is, I represent the entire city, she represents a district, but communication. And so I try very hard to communicate by email or to be available at various meetings in the evening so that I can listen. Are you at all the
meetings, basically? You can't possibly go to all of them.
You can't possibly go to all of them. I try to go to the HOA meetings once or twice a year because we have so many homeowner association meetings. And so you try very hard. The newspapers are getting smaller and thinner for all aspects, and they're becoming less valuable in terms of the information that they're giving the citizens. I think the economy has just hit that industry hard, but it's hurting our citizens because the amount of information they have is getting smaller. So in terms of how I try to approach it is that I try to listen and dig down and get out there and hear the answers. I try and act always in a fiscally responsible way. I think all of us tend to do that. I tend to try to make sure if I'm changing or adding anything in the budget that I'm taking from funds that had not been spent from the prior fiscal year or that are not continued expenditures without cutting. So fiscal neutrality.
So you're able to do this, you're able to cut and you make these choices?
During the budget, we set policy.
I didn't know that.
The budget reflects our policy. We receive a proposed budget from the city manager, and before he prepares it, we try to send him a sense of where we think the priorities are. But at that point, it's up to the council to have the budget reflect the priorities of the city. And we can cut various money, we can move various money, and we can fund various projects, which are supposed to be a reflection of the priorities.
And one of the, excuse me a minute, but one of the ways that it's done is when we're out knocking on doors and people are telling us what they're feeling, and we bring that back to the council.
You have something to relay back.
So that you can relate that and say, well, this seems to be a top priority, and if we need to find money for this, and that's how we find the priorities is because we're really listening to the people when we're knocking on doors. So.
You find it hard going up against the guys on city council? I have to ask that question.
Oh, no, not at all.
Do all of you guys get along?
Yeah, I think for the most part, there's no question that we get along and move things forward. There's disagreements, but I think the public would be disappointed if there weren't, because it might show an apathetic council.
Yes. Yeah,
and that's certainly not the case. It's how you manage it and then how you move forward.